guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to talk about the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy by Holly Jackson. And I wanted to go ahead and kind of talk about each book individually and give you guys a brief synopsis and what I liked and disliked about each book. And then by the end of it, kind of give you my overall rating for the trilogy as a whole. So we will go ahead and get started. So the first book in the trilogy is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, again by Holly Jackson. And this is supposed to be a YA mystery thriller. And this starts off with our main character by the name of Pip. And she is a senior in high school and she is starting to work on her senior capstone project. And for her project, she decides that she is going to reinvestigate the murder of a former student by the name of Andy Bell, who was supposedly murdered by her then boyfriend, Sal Singh, who supposedly murdered her and then committed suicide. So Pip believes that Andy was murdered by someone else, and then whoever murdered Andy had then murdered Sal. So her teacher was actually hesitant for Pip to reinvestigate this case because this was a very touchy case within their community, but they decided to go ahead and let Pip investigate it. And she actually ends up getting help from Sal's brother, Ravi. And so we are just following them as they are looking into everybody into this community, into exactly what happened to Andy and Sal. So we are looking into their friends. We are looking into all of her friends' families. We are looking into teachers. We are looking into just everybody. And so this story has that mixed media format. So we have the notes from her capstone project that we're reading. We have police interviews. We have text messages. We have emails. We have just random notes that she's reading. I think even in here at one point, they had maps that her and Robbie had came up with trying to retrace Andy and Robbie's steps the night that they were murdered or believe that they were murdered. So this just has an added level of reading experience. So that was one of the things that I really liked because I'm just one of those readers that like anything that has like that mixed media format. So I really enjoyed that in this. Another thing that I really enjoyed about this story was the pacing of it, because since they are reinvestigating this case, I just felt like there was always something going on. There was never a dull moment in this story, at least for me. It started off with her capstone proposal and us already knowing what the investigation was going to be about. And it already had me intrigued and wanting to turn to the next page. So I could really appreciate that. And the twists and turns that we got, I am somebody that goes into like mystery thriller books trying so hard to not read them and try to guess who did what. And in this one, I never figured out who did what. Like at all. I could not figure it out because everybody just seemed suspicious. And I like when an author can do that, can just keep me on my toes and not have me be able to figure out what the heck is going on. And Miss Jackson did that because I did not have a clue on what was going on. There were at points where I kind of was maybe getting there, but I could not. Didn't have a clue at all. The plot twist on the end, just, it did it for me. I left my mouth hanging open for sure. I was like, what in the world? What? And with that being said, I did have a problem with this book because, like I said, our main character, Pip, is in high school and she is reinvestigating this case. And so she's in high school, you know, she's probably about 17 years old. And I kind of felt like she was doing a bit much for a 17-year-old. She was doing stuff that I just felt like 17-year-olds just wouldn't be doing, even for a capstone project. So for her and Ravi, I just felt like they were out here like, you know, and like openly interrogating people for like trying to get interviews with people. They were like breaking into houses. They were like walking up on like drug dealers. They were just doing outrageous stuff. She was like getting blackmailed. Like things were happening to her that I feel like if they were happening to a normal 17-year-old, to a child, they would be like, you know what, never mind, I'm not doing this anymore. But no, it was like the more crazy stuff that was happening to this girl, the more she was like, I'm going to keep going. And it's like, no, that's not what, I don't believe that's what a normal reaction would be for somebody. That's not what even a normal reaction would be for me. And I'm an adult. Like, I wouldn't be doing that. That's what the police would do. Now, I understand that you feel like the police didn't do their job. Clearly, they did not do it properly. But the stuff that was happening to her and then her taking the law into her hands the way that she was doing just didn't seem believable to me. And maybe I'm just strange. Maybe I'm a chicken. But some of the stuff that she was doing, I just felt like I just wouldn't be doing it. And then something ended up happening to her in her personal life that still didn't slow her down. Still didn't calm her down. She still couldn't sit down somewhere. And I was just like, girl, like, really? You still going? We still doing this? Okay. She's something. She's something. But that was the only thing that I just couldn't, it was hard for me to wrap my head around that. Some of it just felt just a tad bit unbelievable. Like, I was like, I just don't believe that this 17-year-old girl is just out here doing all this. She's doing a lot. But besides that, I really enjoyed this one. So then the next one in the series we have is Good Girl, Bad Blood. And this one follows, again, our main character, Pip, and now her boyfriend, Robbie. And so they have actually started a podcast called A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. And in that podcast, they have been doing, I believe, like updates to the events that had taken place in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. So they have been doing updates on the trial for the people that were convicted in the actual case of Andy Bell and Sal Singh. And so while all that's going on, we have a new case that has taken place, and that is the strange disappearance of one of her friends by the name of Jamie. And so in this one, Pip is really hesitant on trying to put herself back out there and do the job of the police. Everything that took place in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder really took a toll on her, as it should have. And she is really trying to let the police do her job. But when she realizes that they're not doing her job and Jamie's family comes to her and is basically begging her to please help them, she feels like she has no choice but to help her family and to help her friend. And so she uses her podcast as a way to help. And so season 2 starts for her podcast, and she decides that she's going to help try to locate her friend Jamie. And so this is basically the premise of this book. She is going to have the assistance of her friend Jamie's brother Connor and Robbie again, and they are using the podcast to kind of spread the word about Jamie's disappearance. And we see a lot of the characters from A Good Girl's Guide to Murder as they are trying to figure out what happened to Jamie. And I really enjoyed this one as well. I actually listened to this one on audiobook, which I absolutely enjoyed, and I really wish that I would have listened to the first one on audiobook. This was a full cast. It sounded like a podcast. We are listening to all of the interviews that she is doing and to the people that had anything to possibly do with Jamie's disappearance, or anybody that had seen him right before he disappeared. We get to see a lot of, she has pictures in here of a lot of evidence. Again, she has maps in here like she did in the last one. Again, just like a lot of the mixed media formats, which again, something that I really love. And if you have a chance, I would definitely suggest listening to these on audio. I wish that I would have listened to the first one on audio because I did not realize what I was missing, but this is great on audio. Again, a lot of the same things that I loved about the other one, I loved about this one. The pacing was fantastic. There was never a dull moment. I could not stop listening to this. This is one of the ones that I was listening to while I was at work. And it was like, as soon as I had started really getting into this, I did not want to stop listening to it. When I was at work, I didn't care about nothing that was going on. I was like, don't talk to me. I'm listening to my podcast. And I just ate this one up. There was a lot of twists. There was a lot of turns. And I just adored this. I like Pip as a character because I feel like she really cares about what she's doing and about trying to help people that she cares about in her life. But again, the one thing that I did not like in the first one is the same thing that I didn't like about in this one. I just feel like she does a lot of stuff that I just feel like normal people wouldn't do. Like, I understand that you feel like the police aren't doing their job, but I just feel like the stuff that you're doing, normal people wouldn't do. So that is just one of the things that I just could not wrap my head around. But besides that, again, this is one of the ones that I really did like. I like this one. I really did. And then we get to the last one, which I was so sad that this was the last one, but that is As Good as Dead. And again, I listened to this one on audiobook because, like I said, if you're going to take in the series, audio is the way to go. So we are following Pip, and it is over the summertime, right before she is to head off to college. And this is right after she has been looking for her friends. We're not really too much focused on her podcast. She is trying to deal with all of the trauma from everything that happened in the second book. And we are following her as she is dealing with all of the trauma from the second book. And so in this one, we are following Pip, like I said, as she's dealing with her trauma. Well, Pip starts to realize that she has been getting these strange messages talking about, well, who is going to look for you if you go missing? And then she starts to notice that someone has been leaving these little chalk figures in her driveway. She feels like someone has been following her. And then she starts to think that maybe she has a stalker. So of course she tries to go to the police. And for some reason, the police in her town just don't be doing nothing. I would hate to live where she lives because the police is crap over there. They don't do anything. So she tries to go to the police. The police ain't doing nothing. And so you know what she has to do? What she always does. She has to take things into her own hands, and she has to figure out who the heck has been stalking her. And it turns into this whole big old plot, which I don't really want to say any more than that because I don't want to give anything away. And so it turns into this whole bigger plot, and that's what the story is, trying to figure out who is stalking her. And it goes from there. So again, this follows basically the same thing from the other two, where it's told in that mixed media format where we have the police interviews, the text messages, the emails. We have, pictures of suspects and things like that. But this one is a tad bit different because we are focused solely on Pip. So in the other ones, you know, Pip is trying to figure out what is happening to other people, whereas now Pip is trying to figure out what's going on with her. So we are just really focused on her, which is, like I said, different from the other two. So this one too, even though it has the mixed media, it's definitely not as much as the other ones. Like I said, I did listen to this one on audio, but it doesn't have the same feel as the second one did, because like I said, that was the only other one that I listened to on audio. So it doesn't feel as like podcasty. That's not a word, but it doesn't feel as like podcasty as the other one. So it just reads like a regular audiobook. So if you listen to the first two on audiobook, when you get to this one definitely has a different tone. This book is just way different than the other two in the story that it tells. I still really enjoyed it. This one, again, it has a lot of twists and turns. It has a lot going on. I don't think that everybody's gonna like this one. And it's hard for me to say because, like I said, I want to keep everything spoiler free. But it went in a direction that is so uncharacteristic than the other two. And it's hard for me to really explain why without spoiling anything. But it took a turn that I'm not sure everybody is going to like, but it did. And if you know what I'm saying, you know. But the turn that it took, I wasn't mad at it, because I feel like where it went, it gave the title of the series, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, a meaning. And if you know, you know. You know. So, but my problem that I feel like, not the problem, but I was sad that this just didn't have a lot of the mixed media that it had in the other one, because I really liked that. Like I said, I'm a sucker for the mixed media format, and I was just sad that this one just didn't keep with that same format. So I was sad about that. But as a series, I gave it a 5 out of 5. Out of all three books, I enjoyed the pacing of everything. I felt like none of the books were boring. As soon as I picked them all up, I was invested in every single last one of the stories. I enjoyed them from start to finish. Like I said, the last one, this one, I just feel like I'm not sure it's going to be everybody's cup of tea. I feel like I've seen a few people kind of rate this one lower than the other ones, but I enjoyed it for what it was. One of the things that I have said was that I am somebody that goes into like mystery thrillers trying to, you know, I try really hard not to like guess what is going on, but in like this one, this whole entire series, you cannot guess what is going on, because like the plot twists are so out there. Like you would never guess what's going on, because something just, I feel like Holly Jackson just pulled something out of the sky and was like, yep, that right there, I'm gonna make this happen. But it's so out there and just bizarre that she somehow makes it work. Like there is no way that you would have ever put that together. Now in the first book, I feel like I have seen that plot twist somewhere before. I do feel like I've seen that before. I didn't catch on to that was where she was going with that, but I feel like I've seen that before. I was still here for it. I still enjoyed it. I wasn't mad at it, but I feel like I've seen it before. Now the plot twist in the second one, what? I did not see that coming whatsoever. When we started getting there, and I was just like, what in the world? What is happening? I would have never guessed it. I don't know where it came from, but for some reason, I just feel like she makes it work somehow, and it just makes sense and it works. Well, the third one, it just went left real quick. it went left pretty early in the story. And so I was just like, well, we still have like more than half of the book to go. So where are we gonna go? Where are we gonna go from here? We still got a long way to go. So I just feel like she just has a good way of just throwing stuff out there, like bizarre stuff out there, and somehow making it work. And like I said, I'm not sure if everyone is going to like it, but I enjoyed it. And then in this last book, I really felt like, to me at least, Pip was really going through a lot, and she was going through a lot of trauma. The poor girl has been traumatized through the whole entire series. She's dealing with a lot. I don't want to spoil anything, but she's dealing with a lot. She's seen a lot of stuff for a young girl, mind you. Even though she's a senior in high school, she's a young girl. She's doing stuff that she should not be doing that young. And the way that she's trying to cope with the stuff that she has dealt with is talked about in the third book. So we get to see her do that. And you just get to understand that she is willing to throw a lot on the line for the people that she loves. She is willing to risk a lot for the people that she loves. And it was kind of good to see, because to me, she does a lot of crazy stuff, but it kind of makes sense for her character. And the end of this third one, I just felt like it was so heartbreaking towards the end. I just really liked it. I just like the series as a whole. I just want everybody to read it. I ended up picking up this first one on a whim. I read the first one like back in like March. I will leave a link to that video where I talked about it in my description bar if you want to hear my thoughts about it then. But I read that one then because I heard like a few people talking about it. And as soon as I like read that one, I knew that I had to finish out this series. And I actually had pre-ordered this last book. And as soon as I received it in the mail, I had a hold at my library for the audiobook. So I adore the series. Like I said, 5 out of 5 stars. One of my favorite series. It is a really good young adult mystery thriller series. And it's hard to find a good young adult mystery thriller series. So I really enjoyed it. I hope that everybody goes and checks this out. It's really, really good. Believe the hype on this one. So that is actually all that I have for you guys today. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.